Hello and welcome. As you can see here, we're doing something different for a change. What we're doing here is actually playing an old DOS game called Twilight 2000. Now, Twilight 2000 is a military turn-based, turn-based strategy game. In many ways, it's actually a precursor to the Fallout franchise. It's made by two different developers, but the concept that Twilight 2000 works on is more or less the same concept as Fallout, just different aggressors and different catalysms. But you'll explain more in a moment. So it's a military game that's set in the year 2000. It was first published. This is actually a computer version of the pen and paper game, which was released in 1984. The computer version here was released in 2000. Wait, am I? Sorry. I'm getting dates mixed up. The computer version is set in 2000, but it was released in 1991. And for the time, it was actually incredibly interesting because you could take characters created in it and take them into the actual pen and paper game. And it was basically I'm trying to think of the best analogy here. It was basically modern D20 before that was an actual thing, if I remember correctly from the dates. Because this was meant to be played in a post-apocalyptic version of the world. It takes place in a theoretical World War III, post-World War III environment. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to read off the timeline, and then we're going to go into character creation. And it's actually got a random mission that counters to it, as well as a random number of missions before you start progress the story enough. It's kind of complicated, and we'll get to that in time. So just a moment, please. Right, so reading the manual, it comes with a timeline highlighting the game's events. Now, I believe this is based off the pen and paper's timeline at the time, which was current for 1990s, and it's gone through multiple editions since then. I believe there's a Twilight 2013 version running around, and I don't know what year the last version was put out in. I believe it's not supported as much as other ones because funny enough, Twilight 2000 was done by Game Designer Workshop, which, let me make sure I have the right information here. Let's see, game designers. They are not the same people. Okay, so this was actually something I wasn't sure about. Game Designers Workshop was a war game and role playing game provider between the 70s and the late 1990s. They are not the same people who did the Warhammer franchise. Because I honestly thought they were because a similar name, but apparently it's not the same people. So that's actually kind of interesting because I almost thought it would have been interesting to have these guys have done this, and then at the same time they were doing Warhammer. So they are not the same people. However, this is the same studio that did the Mega Traveler setting, also known as just Traveler. Let's see, and since I'm covering this game, I will be talking about the Traveler when doing a play of that. So let's see. Okay, now we're going to look at the timeline, and unfortunately I could not see one. Let me see. Check the last edition. Looks like the last edition. Whoa, interesting. The last edition was announced last year in 2020. It would have been fourth edition. It will be fourth edition, and it'll be released in. Oh, it should have been released by now. Okay, it says in 2020, it released in early 2020. So it's probably out by now. Interesting, But yes, there was first and second editions were done in mid 1990s. Then third edition was Twilight 2013 in 2006. Released in 2008. All right. So that is it for the release history, I guess. Anyway, the timeline here. Now the timeline starts in 1989. It's okay, and I will be reading this off word for word from the manual because it's actually very fascinating stuff for anybody who's a fan of alternate history. So, 1989, the year the Cold War ends. Across Europe, communist governments topple in response to pro-democracy demonstrations. In Poland, German ethnic clubs formed in response to West Germany's policy of accepting as a German citizen anyone who can prove himself of Germanic descent. Oh, that sounds familiar. The Soviet Union's new policy of encouraging political pluralism in Europe makes the end of bureaucratic communism certain. The only European communist governments which survived the revolution of 1989 are those outside the Warsaw Pact, Yugoslavia and Albania. 1990. The long-awaited reunification of Germany occurs as a result of unlawful and illegitimate elections. The four major powers, the United States, the United Kingdom, USSR, and France, guarantee Poland's territorial integrity in the event of German aggression. As part of the commitment, NATO and Warsaw Pact troops maintain a presence in the newly unified Republic of Germany. By the end of the year, Soviet troops began to withdraw from Czechoslovakia, but the governments of Poland and Hungary request continued Soviet troop presence and reaffirm their commitment to the Warsaw Pact. The Soviet military begins to reorganize along the defensive lines, and many divisions upgrade their existing weaponry. Low-level armed violence spreads throughout Central Asia, and although most of it fails to come to the attention of the world, which is distracted by events in Germany. All right, so 1991. Germany opts for continued membership in NATO, but at a greatly reduced level of commitment. Germany also places increasing pressure on NATO to reduce troops in proportion to the Soviet withdrawal. The Germans pledged to station troops only in the western part of its territory in return for a complete Soviet troop pullout from eastern Germany. Hungary protests that the Romanian government is withholding medical relief for the AIDS epidemic. The Romanian government denies the charges, and French medical investigators accuse the Romanian government of concealing the size and severity of the AIDS infestation in rural portions of the country. German ethnic groups demonstrated in Poland protesting their alleged mistreatment by the Polish government. All right, sorry, it is multiple pages, so I have to scroll down to see it. Okay, so 1992, civil war in Albania results in the fall of the communist leadership, which is replaced by a military government. Albanian nationalists demonstrate throughout Yugoslavia. The Yugoslavian government's response is careful and low-key but firm. 1993, fighting in Central Asia escalates and continues for most of the year, but the Soviet military gradually begins to gain the upper hand and regains control of most of the region. Peaceful pro-democracy demonstrations take place in China, but soon erupt into violence, forcing military intervention. The pro-democracy factions hold out for months before the military manages to restore order. 1994. 1994. After several years of intensive investment in the eastern third of the country, Germany is finally showing signs of emerging as a world-class economic superpower. East Germany has successfully integrated with the West. As Europe showed signs of increasing instability, Germany quietly increases its military force structure to full strength. China presses the Soviet Union for border adjustments. Talks produced no tangible results, and fighting erupts along the Chinese-Soviet border. 1995. After a period of increasing tension, full-scale war erupts between the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China. The Chinese surpass the expectations of most military analysts. They mobilize reserves from the interior and shift them to the fighting front. While the Soviets continue to make impressive gains, their losses also mount and the tempo of their advance slows. The Soviet Union had already been mobilizing additional troops from western military districts. This action is now an emergency priority. As a stopgap, a half-dozen combat-ready divisions withdraw from Hungary and Poland and venture to the Far East. But the Far Eastern Front quickly becomes a region of death that devours Soviet divisions as quickly as they can be committed. As factory output switches more and more to wartime production, the flow of consumer goods dwindles to a trickle. The economic recovery that began in the early 1990s is wiped out, causing standards of living in the Soviet Union to plummet. As the first snows of winter fall, the Soviets solicit the remaining members of the Warsaw Pact to serve on the Far Eastern Front. Only two members respond, Poland and Bulgaria. Anxious to maintain strong defense ties with the Soviet Union as a bulwark against Germany, the Poles send a motorized rifle division to fight in the Far East. In response to increasing regional instability, Germany declares its agreement of 1991 on size and location of armed forces obsolete in relation to the current European situation. Poland protests and begins bringing several divisions into Western Poland to higher states of readiness. 1996. Their ranks swallowing newly mobilized troops, Soviet forces launched a spring offensive against the Chinese. Despite initial gains, the drive soon stalls and horrendous casualties are suffered. Winter witnesses a flood of new modern military equipment due Chinese ports from NATO nations, particularly the United States. In response to its obligations under the Warsaw Pact, Poland prepares to send an additional division to the Far East. However, several ethnic German soldiers in the division announced their intention to resist transfer out of the country. A wave of demonstration in western Poland by ethnic Germans who support the soldiers is violently suppressed by riot police, resulting in many deaths and numerous injuries. Germany protests and moves several divisions closer to the border. In mid-July, there are several border incidents between units of the Polish and German armies and frequent exchanges of artillery fire. On July 27th, elements of the German Third Corps crossed the frontier in retaliation for what they describe as a full-scale attack by the Polish 4th Mechanized Division. Within 2 days, Poland and Germany are officially at war. The Poles are supported by 3 Soviet divisions still stationed in Poland as part of the Warsaw Pact, but are still outnumbered by the German troops. What tips the balance against the Germans is the surprising entry of the Czech army into the war on the side of the Warsaw Pact. By the end of November, the Czech army finally cracks the line of German reservists holding the southern flank and cuts north into Germany, closing in on Berlin. Claiming that its actions were justified by the military provocations of Poland and that they are now faced with dismemberment as a state, Germany turns to its NATO partners for assistance. While the political leadership of the European members of NATO debate the prudence of intervention, the U.S. Army crosses the frontier to aid Germany. Within a week, France, Belgium, Italy, and Greece demand that U.S. troops withdraw to their start line. When these demands are not met, these countries withdraw from NATO in protest. British and Canadian forces cross the borders, standing behind the U.S. and German position. However, Denmark and Holland remain uncommitted, still partners in NATO, but not a part of the war. This is heating up fast, like incredibly fast. Alright, so 1997, in an attempt to restore the situation in Germany, Soviet and Czech troops return to the offensive in southern Germany, but do not have the strength to make any significant gains. With the coming of spring, the NATO offensive gains momentum, and in April, the first German troops crossed the frontier into Poland. By June 17, Warsaw is surrounded, and Polish army units and the citizens of the city prepare for a siege. By early July, NATO advanced elements closed in on the Polish-Soviet frontier in the central region while continuing the siege on Warsaw. The Polish government in exile establishes its temporary capital in the city of Poznan. On July 9th, with advanced elements of the First German Army on Soviet soil, the Soviets began to use tactical nuclear weapons sparingly. In the Far East, however, they are used on a massive scale. Chinese mechanized columns are vaporized, caught in open imagined pursuit of the Soviet army. The Chinese response is immediate, but Soviet forward troops are dispersed and well prepared. Within a week, the Chinese riposte is spent, but the Soviet attack continues. The roads are choked with refugees fleeing from all the cities, all of them potential targets. This is sounding real familiar. China begins rapid slide in anarchy and civil disorder. On the Western Front, the forward elements of both armies of the Soviet-Polish frontier are hit hard by tactical nuclear strikes as NATO matches the Warsaw Pact warhead for warhead. On September 15th, the siege of Warsaw is lifted, and a week later, Czech and Italian troops began a renewed offensive in southern Germany. The southern offensive gained momentum, and NATO forces in Poland increased the rate of their withdrawal, practicing a scorched earth policy as they fall back. Fearful of a general strategic exchange, neither side targets the land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles of the other, or launches enough warheads at once to risk convincing the other side that an all-out attack is in progress. Neither side wishes to cross the threshold to nuclear oblivion in one bold step, so they inch across it, never quite knowing they have done so until after the fact. The exchanges continue fitfully and regularly through November and then gradually begin to diminish. 1998. The winter of 1997 to 98 is particularly cold. Civilian war casualties and the industrialized nations have reached almost 15% by the turn of the year, but the worst is yet to come. Communications and transportation systems are non-existent, and food distribution is impossible. In the wake of nuclear war comes famine on a scale previously undreamed of, only the exceptionally cold winter delays simultaneous epidemics. With the spring thaw, with the spring, I'm flubbing words. I'm so sorry. With the spring thaw, the unburied dead finally bring on the epidemics that few remaining medical professionals had dreaded, but were powerless to prevent. By the time the epidemics have run their course, the global casualty rate is at 50%. The average strength of NATO combat divisions falls to 8,000. Warsaw Pact divisions now vary widely in strength, running from 500 to 10,000 effectives, but mostly in the 2,000 to 4,000 range. Lack of fuel, spare parts, and ammunition temporarily paralyzed the armies. Though peace loomed on the horizon, no government survived to negotiate it. Only military command structures remain intact, and they are faithful to the final orders of their governments. In late June, the Pact forces in southern Germany renewed their offensive in an attempt to seize scattered surviving industrial sites in central Germany. Actually, the most intact parts of Germany are those areas themselves which had been under Warsaw Pact occupation. Galvanized into renewed action, NATO forces expend the maximum effort to reform a coherent front, and the Pact offensive finally stalls. As the autumnal rains begin, NATO and the Pact initiate a short and weak second nuclear exchange directed primarily at surviving industrial centers in the United Kingdom and Italy. Fighting diminishes to minor skirmishes as both sides prepare for winter. 1999. In Europe, the fronts are static for most of the year. Low troop densities mean that infiltration raids become the most common form of warfare. The front ceases to be a line and becomes a deep occupied zone as troops settle into areas and begin farming and small-scale manufacturing to meet their supply requirements. Many units stationed in barren areas drift apart or turn to marauding when supplies fail to arrive. Although most attacks by large bodies of marauders are directed at areas held by the enemy, they are soon delayed at allied units as well, although this seldom occurs against units of the same nationality. The effects of the chaos ensuing from the destruction of world trade and the death of a sizable portion of the population are felt across the globe. No territory, however remote, remains untouched by the war. Even scientific stations in the Antarctic and orbiting space laboratories are abandoned as the war drags on. And now we finally arrived at the year 2000. By the spring of the year 2000, the armies of Europe have settled into new cantonment systems. Civil authority has virtually ceased to exist. Most military units are practicing extensive recruiting in an attempt to maintain their strength, and stragglers are often incorporated into units regardless of their nationalities. Thus, U.S. units contain a wide variety of former NATO and Warsaw Pact soldiers in addition to Americans. In early January, the U.S. 11th Corps, stationed in Krakow, moves out of its cantonment on what is to become one of the last strategic offensives of the war. Now, this is actually where we come in as the player. So that's the timeline of Twilight 2000 as it was in 1990. The game was released in 91, so I assume it was in development between 89 and 1990. Now, what's interesting is they actually, in this timeline, the Soviet Union is treated as not having broken up, as it has having survived the revolution of 1989 and when the Berlin Wall fell. It's actually kind of fascinating what they think that how things would turn out, and just why I said Twilight 2000 is very fascinating for people who are fans of alternate history, especially military alternate history. Now, after the timeline, it shows info about the main antagonist of the game. So I'm going to go over him because he is our main enemy. The entire game is to depose, Baron Carney. I believe I am pronouncing that name right. From what I understand, the way you pronounce Polish names is you basically ignore the Z in them. So I apologize to any Polish viewers if I'm mispronouncing the name. I'm trying my best here. So here's the blurb about the Baron. Before the war, Tadu Carney was an officer in the Zomo. In parentheses, it says motorized units of the People's Police in Polish, the Special Riot Police of the Polish government that gained a reputation of cruelty during the Solidarnosc demonstrations in the 1980s. I think that's actually a real world one. I don't know. I don't know if it was invented for the game, or I imagine it's real world because they based a lot of this on real world history up to the 1980s, and then obviously you got the information about the Soviet Union. Anyway, Carney is in his late 40s, so he could have conceivably be involved, and it's a fact that has not added to his popularity in certain areas. He was undoubtedly involved when Zomo units were used to suppress anti-war riots in the year 1996. In 1997, in response to the NATO offensive, Zomo units were pressed into frontline service, and Carney's unit was no exception. During this conflict, Carney sustained serious injuries and suffered permanent disfigurement when a mortar round exploded directly in front of his face. Damn, he's hardcore. He spent 2 years in a Polish hospital before returning to his hometown of Warsaw in late 1999. When he arrived, he was dressed in a black uniform and had assumed a new identity. He now called himself Baron Carney. Carney immediately ascended to power in Warsaw and implemented his own communist military government. He is totally ruthless in pursuit of power, and his ultimate goal is to rule all of Poland. So, this is the guy you're fighting against. As you'll see in the story, he's a fucking asshole. He is not meant to be liked ever. He is the story very much presents him as a vile person, and oh my god, does he ever carry it out? You'll see why soon. Anyway, so we have now. I'm going to start it up and show the intro to the game. So let's just tab out, let it go, let it run. So that is that. That's the intro. Now it's Baron Carney at the end there. So you can actually, let me see. Yeah, you can actually ignore putting the name. Oh, okay. So it does force you to put a name in. Never mind. It's been as long as I had to do that. So the reason why it gives you a name is it assigns any characters you create and put into a platoon as your actual platoon. Well, sorry, as your actual ownership as your character. So it's interesting. Now we're going to go through the character selection process. Now, generally speaking, you want to your core team should be of there's actually 4 different types you need. Obviously you need your leader, which could be of any career you want as long as he meets certain conditions. But you also want someone who's skilled at interrogation, a medic, and you want a support, so a mechanic. So we're going to put in here our lead. Now this is a military game, so we're going to take on characters from military games. First up, we got Solid Snake up in here, and you can pick her portrait. Now bear in mind, some of these portraits do not have represented models in game, unfortunately. They tend to automatically default. Remember correctly, certain ones just will not show up the way you think, and you'll end up getting some else entirely. Now, this is actually, for a 1981 game, this is incredibly in deep for a character creation. If you go to each one, some of these have sub. Oh, whoops! Sorry, I don't have one. Yeah, some of these have sub groups where you can choose a different nationality within the larger nation. And the USSR, bam. I think it's actually missing a couple, but I can't really remember. I believe this is actually accurate for the 1990s, or rather the end of the Soviet Union. So in the Twilight 2000, it treats the Soviet Union as surviving, as I said a few minutes ago during the timeline. And some of these actually have special bonus languages. Let's see. Okay, so what we can do here is actually reset this by going out and then clicking again. Now, here is what I'm talking about. If you pick a country that has a random sub language, you can actually get the second one as a bonus language for free, and then you can focus on getting other ones. With your intelligence officer, you want to stack up as many languages as you can because it prevents you having to go out and send in someone to bring it back in. So if you pick Anglo-Canadian, you can actually get English as your main and French as your secondary. If you pick French-Canadian, let's see if it does it for me on first try. Nope. Okay, so it'll take a few tries. Fortunately, it does not take you all the way out if you do this. And here, if you pick French-Canadian, you can get the opposite. So this is actually incredibly useful because despite being in Poland, a lot of the NPCs and such are actually random on what language they speak. So you want to have your intelligence guy, who's always going to be in your party, to speak all of the languages. Now, so Canadians can get French or English as their secondary, depending on which one they are. Let's see, that's not it. Some of these languages are not fully supported. Like Welsh would have, not be English main, but they would have Welsh. I think it's Welsh. Is it Welsh or Welsh? As their, still so long as I haven't looked it up. Irish will obviously have their Irish. And interesting enough, I remember correctly, Scottish is actually a separate language in this one. So I'm just going to ignore that then. Actually, I believe it's Gaelic that is secondary, not Scottish. We'll see in a moment. Now, American gets, I think, 5 different choices for... Yeah, okay, they can get German, Italian, Spanish, Yiddish, or Polish as their secondary. I think they can also get French. I'm not sure. But America has a very interesting range of them. And as this is a game set in Eastern Europe, you only have access to Eastern Europe or NATO forces that would have an interest in there. So if you go for Russian, you will have Russian as your main, but I think you can actually get randomly English or another subset of the Soviets. So we're going to keep resetting this up. This is actually good. Polish is actually a very, very good one to have as a secondary on your core party, because that is easily the most common one for obvious reasons. Now you can do random allocation, which, okay, so here I gotta explain this one. unlike other games, agility is only important for certain military services that you want to go into or certain careers. Period. It's also one of the things required to have a access to the officer training inside military. Now you get 32. If you go for allocation, you can put 32 in, and it's only useful for min-maxing specific ones. If you keep re-rolling and are patient enough, you can actually get much higher. So this is actually an interesting combo because we got 42 and we got strength and constitution, which are very high. Now, so the reason why you want strength and constitution very high is because in this game, your carrying weight is determined by the scores together. If it is low, then you cannot carry very much. If it's high combined, you need at least you need at least 14 combined in order to have access to some of the heaviest weaponry. That's only to take it from the armory. You can. There's a trick that you can do outside of the game, right? Not outside of the game, but outside of the in game, but outside of the headquarters, to where you can get all the equipment you want on your character. But if you want to be able to, if you want to avoid that and spend less time using the trickery, then you're going to want to have a high constitution. So let's see, we got a pretty decent one here. We're gonna try re-rolling and see if we can get inside the military academy. Now this is language. Okay, yeah, there it is. Gaelic. Oh, Scots Gaelic is the one that's in. Okay, so you got regular Gaelic, which I believe is corresponding to Irish, but you also got Scots Gaelic, which is corresponding to Scottish. Okay, so here you can see the different languages supported in the game. You will never need to know how to speak these. You will not be required to translate languages or anything. It's all done automatically by the computer. Now, you want to have at least Spanish, Russian, German, Polish, French, and English. Remember correctly, those are the most common ones. Armenian, as far as I know, is only spoken by generic NPCs during interrogation missions, or no, wait, not interrogation missions, but certain missions like going in, healing injured, or curing disease. But you do see there it is. Welsh is in the game, so I don't know why you would not be given Welsh automatically if you want a character of Welsh descent. So that's very fucking weird. I've never understood that, but this game's actually 30 years old. I've never understood that one. There was just a lot of irregularities back then, so you just got to chalk it up to that. So we're just going to ignore that because this, you don't need to go heavy on languages, except for your intelligence guy. And unfortunately, the game does kind of have some RNG in your character creation. So you may have to reroll. And we cannot go into military academy with this character. So we're going to scrap him and start over. Because you want to get into military academies. Those give you a lot of free skills and give you access to a lot of free stuff. So you want to do that. We'll go again with this. Spanish. Why not? American Spanish does actually come up too. Now, Constitution, a lot of these are pretty straightforward on what to say. Strength, determines how much you can carry when combined with Constitution. Education and intelligence are related to careers mostly. Charisma, I think, agility does not actually determine how much you can get from initiative. It's all random on that count. Charisma is mostly used for charisma is mostly in this game. It's mostly for career choices. In pen and paper, obviously have more use for it. So a lot of these you can actually safely dump and not really care much about. Let's see. So since this is our leader, we want at least 14 in order to carry certain weapons. Now I'll go into it when it's time to go into it. but you do want to have a high strength of constitution for and hopefully high initiative, because it's kind of random how much your initiative is. I believe that agility plays a small part in it, and military service has a better chance of getting you a higher initiative. So we're just going to keep re-rolling a bit. Actually, let's see. Let me see. I think I have I should have. Yes, I do have written down here. So we actually have stats for to get inside the National Academy with. You have to have at least one in all stats. You can't play a game of one in all stats, but why would you? Now, America just should get us in. It does not matter what skills you put here, because except for language, and I believe okay. So except for language, unarmed melee, and wheeled vehicle, none of these actually have relevance. A lot of the skills in this game are designed for the pen and paper conversion. Then there you go. You can get inside National Military Academy now. Now again, some of these skills are not used in the game, the computer game. Rifle and heavy weapons are. What you want to do is actually dump everything into heavy weapons. And again, a lot of these are not used. Pistol, rifle, heavy, unarmed melee, and I believe wheeled vehicle are actually used from this. Because wheeled vehicle should actually determine how impactful your driving is when you get access to the wheeled vehicles. Also, medical is actually. Oops, here I'm trying to get back to okay. So fishing is not used, neither is disguise, foraging, horsemanship, or any of this except for language and medical. Medical is actually incredibly important for your doctor to pump. And, yep, we can get into special forces. Cool. Again, more unnecessary ones. So war breaks out randomly, and there's actually a mechanic. It describes the mechanic inside the manual. Let me pull it up. If I can find it anyway. I remember looking at it earlier. Okay, here it is. Okay, war breaks out at the end of each term. The computer generates a number between 1 and 10. If the number generated is equal to or less than the character's current term number, then war breaks out. Once the war breaks out, a character is drafted to the armed forces and spends one term in the service of your choice. If the character is already enlisted in a branch of the military, he remains in that branch of service. Again, at the end of the term, the computer determines if the character is promoted. The result is displayed on the screen. After the character's term is completed, the computer determines the rest of the character's profile. These categories include initiative, RADs, age, hit capacity, load, context, throw range, base hit numbers, unarmed combat damage. Okay. It said initiative is the character's readiness and ability to initiate action. A character's initiative never exceeds 7, and it's never less than 1. So it's actually very random how much how high your initiative is. I believe it is slightly influenced by agility. It's just not very much by it. Higher agility means you have a higher chance of getting higher initiative. So after this, we'll check, how much initiative we have. Now you get your personal weapon, which is free, and here at the end of it, you can see your maximum load, which is counted in kilograms. Now you want at least 42 because two of the best weapons in the game are very heavy. And you need to be able to equip them. Well, you need at least one person in your core party to be able to do it. When you have 2 or 3, it's much easier to get geared up quickly. So also, I believe your initial money is random as well. I do not know what governs that, unfortunately, or what say. So, after you get your core party made, which is always going to be your leader, which could be any service or whatever you want, and your intelligence officer and your medical doctor, as well as your mechanic. After you get those 4 done, you want to buy a lot of these. Buy a lot of miscellaneous items, because a lot of these are very much required in order to complete the game. Here we have the TOW-2 missile launcher. Now you're going to make a lot of pretty much throwaway characters that go through the process of creation and all that, and you give them whatever names you want. But you want to have a bunch of throwaway characters buying stuff like toes, and let's see, where is it? As well as Mark 19 grenade launchers and M2 heavy barrels. Now the M2 heavy barrel is a heavy weapon and is honestly the best weapon. It is easily the best close to medium range weapon you want to have ever in the game, because if you hit somebody with that, they are fucking done. With with smaller caliber guns, you can take a turn or 2 to kill them. If you hit somebody in the chest with the heavy barrel, they are fucking gone. Like, the heavy barrel is an extremely high damage weapon, and it is not uncommon to get 100 damage. If every bullet hits somebody, even through armor, it's still going to do a incredible amount of damage, to the point where that unit is gone, just gone. It is effectively the win button. And you want to accompany that. Oh, sorry. Move back over here. And you want to accompany that with the Mark 19 grenade launcher, which is your long to extreme range option. The higher heavy weapon skills, the higher chance you have of making these 2 weapons hit them. If you don't have very high weapons, high heavy weapons, then you're gonna have trouble getting successful hits. So this is what you want to do when you're dealing with enemies at long range, or because if the grenade lands within 1 to 2 meters, instant kill. I'm not even exaggerating. Grenades landing at the enemy's feet within 1 meter or 2 meter will kill them. For certain missions down the line, like when Baron Carney sends an invasion force, you can actually go inside the city instead of going to like the defensive point where you're supposed to go. You go inside the city and just pop grenades from them from the city from outside of their attack range. It's pretty fucking funny. Grenade launchers, alongside the heavy barrels, are pretty much the best options for the game. You do have a lot of weapon options here, and I will go over them just a moment, please. Okay, starting from the small arms, we have the 38 Special Snubnose, a 357 Magnum, an M9 pistol, an HP 35 pistol, and a PM Makarov. For weapons, we have the FN FAL, the G3. That's for battle rifles. For some machine guns, we have the Uzi, MP5, AKR, M12, the G11. For assault rifles, we have the M16A2, AK-74, the L85, also known as the IW. We have the AKM, the FAMAS. For sniper rifles, we have for the M40, the SVD, the M21, the PSG-1. For shotguns, we have the pump action shotgun, H&K combat assault weapon. For automatic rifles, we have the M249, the RPK-74. For machine guns, we have the M60, the MG3, the PK. For grenade launchers, we have the M203, the BG1, the Mark 19, and the AGS-17. For rocket launchers, we have the RPG-16, the Law 80, the Carl Gustav. For straight-up anti-tank missile launchers, we have the Tank Breaker, the TOW-2, the Spandrel, the Saxhorn, the Dragon Pip. For heavy machine guns, we only have the M2 Heavy Barrel. Now, for miscellaneous equipment, we have hand grenades or just fragmentation grenades. It explodes like fragments, as expected. We have time delayed plastic explosive, which is not actually in the game. Anti-tank mines, plastic explosives, and time delayed plastic explosives are not actually in the game. For hand tools, we have wheeled vehicle, tracked vehicle, basic, and lockpicks. Lockpicks are also not in the game because I think their mechanic was just straight removed. For vision devices, we have binoculars, image intensifiers, telescopic rifle sight, starlight scope, and IR goggles. IR goggles are actually kind of useful if you do a lot of night missions. I wouldn't recommend it because they're kind of a pain in the ass. For I can't actually. Sorry, unfortunately, the manual's kind of got some smudging on it, so I can't read what it says. I think it's NBC equipment. So you have the M20256 chemical defect. This thing's got so many typos in it. It's funny as hell. It says defector, but I'm pretty sure it's actually meant to be detector. But yeah, the M25 CDK, which detects and identifies chemical agents, usable only once, and it must be. Yeah, this is also something not carried over to the game. You also got the Geiger counter, which is carried over. You got a chemical defense suit and mask, which is, again, not carried over. Then you got body armor, which is Kevlar vest, flak jacket, Kevlar helmet, and you got your medical supplies, which are anesthetic, antibiotic, pain reliever, sedative, blood, plasma, doctor's medical kit. Personal gear, snowshoes, compass. A compass I don't think is actually in the game. Handheld radio, which is incredibly important for your leader to have. You got the 4-man tent, and you got MREs. MREs are not in the game. So a lot of these are, I think some of these items were meant to be considered for the game, the pen and paper game, even though you cannot actually get them inside this game. And here it's simplified as saying that, by just a very simple name. So ideally, what you would want to do is, just basically take my advice and get some equipment. You want to at least have a handheld radio because it actually helps you a lot. Now, it doesn't matter what your leader and such gets, as long as you get key items. These are 100 uses a piece, and you would, unless you get like only medical missions, you will never run out. Because the missions usually have about I think 4 or 5 injured people or people who need to be given medical attention to. Maybe 10 at most. So you would never run out unless you got non-stop medical missions. And when it comes to the stuff that you inject or Now you want to get the doctor's medical kit instead of the personal one because each one has 10 uses. So let's take a look at the initiative. Oh, wow, good. You want at least 4. So this is actually good. Since we're continuing on military memeing, let's go get Merrill Silverberg up in here. Good. Bonus language. Now, let's see. Let me check the stat list I saved for this. Okay, so this is actually going to be our medic. Hopefully we'll get decent, stats for it, because you have to use, oh, actually, oh, yeah, I think this is actually good. This looks like a good combo. Because you want to have high intelligence and high education, because you need to be able to go to medical school. There's also something interesting about the, medical profession. I'll go into it in just a moment. Let's go ahead and make this. So first you need to go to undergraduate university and pick up 3 biology and 2 chemistry. Whoops, ignore that. This is actually a great time to pick up a secondary language, just in case. So you can honestly put whatever else you want into here, because language, mechanically speaking, only biology and chemistry are needed from undergrad, as well as language. You can join the ROTC, which gives you extra access to, extra access skills. So basically, you cannot enter medical school because you do not have the medical training yet, but you can actually go into any other one. So we're going to go to medical school now. And you get a lot of free medical just for going there. And your medic always wants to pump medical. Now, the interesting part about medical training is if war breaks out, or if you go into the military service voluntarily, no matter what division you pick before going in, you will automatically go to the medical. Watch. Since we got everything we need out of education, bam, automatic transfer to the medical division, and you get you get a captain promotion. I'm not actually sure what the ranks, what relevance the ranks have, because you can have a private commanding, colonels and such, but if war breaks out for a character who has a completed medical school training, they automatically get a commission in the medical arm of the army as a captain. They can be either a nurse or a doctor. You cannot be a medic at that point. So you want to keep pumping medical for your medic. Oh crap! I hit the wrong button, but it's okay. Damn, we got a colonel here. Oh, and it looks like our constitution dropped. Unfortunately, we will not be able to carry we will not be able to put a heavy barrel on them from the armory, but it's okay. Again, there are tricks to get around that, which unfortunately would never. I don't think they actually figured that out from the game development, because that's the kind of stuff you would account for nowadays, but not back then, because I don't think anybody could have predicted that. Let's see. And honestly, it does not matter what the personal weapon you take is. Oh, we got a lot to work with here. So we're just going to spend this on tow missile launchers. Look at initiative. Oh, she's got... Okay, now I know what I said about a few minutes ago about initiative. You want at least 3 to 4. 2 or 1 is very, very painful to work with, because later game scenarios you're going to be dealing with about, I think, 10 or 15 enemies at a time. Even with stuff like missile launchers and everything, you're not missile launchers, but grenade launchers and heavy barrels, you're still going to be taking a long time to get through them if only 1 or 2 people can take turns at a time. So you want at least 3, preferably 4. The highest you can get, I think, is actually 6, because I've never seen an initiative 7 character. As far as I know, I have never seen initiative 7. I have seen 5 and 6. So you want at least those. Go ahead and add these. And you want to save your squad. Now, most likely what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a few of these on screen, and then next session fill out the platoon with mostly just mules and such in order to get the rest of the army taken care of. Generally speaking, for weapons and such, you want to basically focus on heavy barrels and Mark 19s. You can play a more closer game with assault rifles and sniper rifles, but if you're looking to just to get through the game with the least amount of trouble, then you want to specialize in only heavy barrels and Mark 19s. So your medic is not going to be as apt with weapons as the other guys. You do want to make sure your other three, however, are not suffering from that. So let me look at our recruits. Okay, sorry. Might as well get Raiden up in here. Now, it doesn't really. Some of these models, as I said at the start, do not show up properly in game. So honestly, I have no idea which one would be a good, Raiden model for this. Let's give him that Zach Morris look. So, contrary to Raiden, this is be our intelligence guy. I think we have a Polish speaker. Doesn't matter. Let me look at this. Okay, so I think we can actually. I think this is actually an allocation one. Now, if I remember correctly, you want to, ideally, you should not be getting hit very much if you've experienced enough of the game. So you do not need to worry too much about having high constitution and strength, other than for having access to certain officer schools, as well as, obviously, what I said a few minutes ago about getting access to, being able to carry the heavy barrels without having to, being able to put them all in, one party instead of reform constantly. So let me look at the stats here. Okay, we want education high up. Charisma is pretty much a dump stat. Same with agility. This may have actually been a reroll, not a reroll, but a random generator, because this seems kind of off. And this should get us into intelligence. All right, we can get in National Military Academy. Now, since this is your intelligence officer, you want to get with every secondary one. You want to get as many languages as you can. Oh, we got free check. Cool. Now, for your officer skills, for here, okay, so basically what you want to do here is pump languages every single chance you get. And you do want to have some redundancy because you never know which one you might need. Wow! Okay then, so... So intelligence does not get access to heavy weapons, unfortunately. So you're going to have at least two people not very good at them. Now, you want to pump interrogation, because this is actually a critical skill. If you do not have a certain amount, then you constantly fail over and over and over. I think you have to have at least 12 in order to successfully, guarantee every single one. And you can use your secondary, as I said, to pump other languages. Now, I'm not very happy with this one, so we may need to re-roll this. You want to have at least one of the 4-minute tents, because they are pretty useful. Hmm. Not so. I just got reminded. Okay, it's kind of it's a weird thing with the game, but there's actually a rare rocket link. I think it's either a rocket launcher or a rare missile launcher in the game that you cannot buy in here, but you can find as a random drop from dead Carney military members. I forgot what the name was though. It's actually incredibly rare. I think. Let me look over the list of ones here because it may remind me. Hmm. It may have actually been a spandrel because Mercury you cannot buy it, but it's actually something you pick up inside the game. Whoops, I bought the wrong one, but it doesn't matter. Honestly, you can just buy whatever. You do want to specialize in heavy barrels in Mark 19s. Ooh, damn, Initiative 6. Oh yeah, you want to get this. You want this. Now, I wonder who the last one should be. Yep, since we're going full Metal Gear, make it quiet. No decent ponytails, it would seem. I think we have a Spanish speaker already, so let's re-roll. Yeah, I think we have Italian. I know we got Polish. Yeah, we go. German. All right, let me look at the. Okay, so this is going to be our mechanic. Let me see if I can replicate these. Fortunately, you do not actually need much for a mechanic. Now, I'm not actually sure, but I believe electronics does actually factor into successful vehicle repair rates, which is okay. So, when you go into the mechanic, when you set it your mechanic, you want to have kind of split it on electronics and mechanic because I'm like 75% sure electronics do matter. I remember just stumping before into mechanic and having really awful repair rates, but I remember it getting better after getting electronics. It could have just been random, just random bad luck, but I fully believe that you do need to have electronics in order to successfully repair. So unfortunately, this would not be an officer. So for your intelligence guy and your mechanic, it's best to dump their secondaries into language. The intelligence guy will have access to a lot of them just by default because of his the freebie as well as on top of the nationality. But you want to cover all your bases as much as possible. I think we got Georgian, but I'll go ahead and pick this because I want to be safe. Let's see. Don't think we have Chubash. I know we have a Czech. No, I'm pretty sure we do have a Chubash. Okay, so pick Estonian. Take a freebie here because I know I said about a few minutes ago about this. Whoops. But you want to get every single possible avenue covered of the most common ones. And if all else fails, hey, just reset the mission. All right, so I think honestly we have a lot of the languages covered. 15,000. Okay, let's spin this on heavy barrels. Now, don't worry about the current load and everything because it's irrelevant. Wait, what's the nice? I mean, let me look at the website. I thought I mentioned the Law 80. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, it's right there. So interesting enough, so the Law 80 is meant to be disposable. The RPG and Carl Gustav's are not. Yeah, and a fun fact is the Carl Gustav was a very popular rocket launcher in Battlefield Bad Company 2. I remember this. I remember abusing the fucking hell out of it. It was so funny too. Oh, so here's something you want to have for all of your people early on: is the snowshoes. Not every soldier will have these by default. So let's look at the profile. Oh wow, we got some really good RNG here. Like this is actually very very lucky because usually I get get a pretty awful initiative, but having a 5 initiative, oh that help a lot. So we'll go ahead and save. Now it doesn't matter that the if you pick a male or a female. It's just if you want to make keep a count, you get 20 per unit. You get 20 soldiers per platoon, and it doesn't matter what race, what gender or race you pick, as long as you pick the right languages in order to continue the game. So they can be whatever you want. You got a lot of freedom here, and it does not affect your stats or anything like that. So now we just got it doesn't matter what name you put in there. Also, we're just gonna make it give a generic name of weapon. Let's see. Make it a Brit. So now we have a natural Gaelic speaker. Okay, as far as I know, it does not matter how many points you have in the language. It's just that you can speak the language. Period. So we'll just go with this. Even though it is a mule, you want to just cover your basics. Just cover just in case. Let's see here. Okay, so I should go over the different careers. Obviously, you saw the military ones and the educational ones. Let me pull this up. I gotta scroll down in the manual so I can read it off. Now, some of these actually have requirements as you've seen. Okay, so career. Okay, well, first we have education category. You have graduate education. Graduate university, a college offering academic study beyond a bachelor's degree. Entry, undergraduate degree, education 7 or higher, intelligence 7 or higher. Special, one term provides a master's degree. The second in each sorry. Let me start over. One term provides a master's degree. The second in each subsequent term provides a PhD degree. Law school, a specialized division of a university that provides a law degree. Entry, undergraduate degree, education 5+, intelligence 5+. Medical school, a specialized division of a university that provides a medical degree. Entry, undergraduate degree, biology 3+, chemistry 2+. That's why I was saying, when you want to make your doctor, you have to get those. It's required in order to get medical access. National Military Academy, a school that provides special military training. Entry, education 6+. Special must enter the armed forces and go through either officer training or join division of one of the services. Now, as far as I know, if you pick the National Military Academy, if you do not meet the requirements for OCS, you are automatically given access to OCS. I don't think it's possible to go to the military academy and not be able to go to the officer training path, because I think if you were able to go to OCS regardless, you would have been given a choice. Okay, so let me start over. If you go into the military service and you meet the requirements for OCS, you'll actually be given a pop-up of whether or not you want to go into OCS. National Military Academy skips that. It automatically gives you it. As far as I know, you cannot be part of the military, having gone to the academy, and not be in OCS. So we have technical school here. A school that trains in a particular art, science, profession, or trade. Entry, no prerequisites. Undergraduate university. An institution of learning that grants a bachelor's degree in a specific field of study. Entry, education 5+. Special, each additional term provides a bachelor's degree in another field of study. You also have the choice if you'd like to join ROTC. And as far as I know, if you go into undergrad and go into ROTC, you're automatically excluded from the National Military Academy. Civil engineer. Oh, this is civilian occupations. Okay, first one, attorney, a legal representative authorized to appear before the courts and argue cases. Entry, law school. So you got a pretty low bar there. Civil engineer, an individual trained to, trained to design and build roads, bridges, etc. Entry, master's degree, civil engineering 3+. Special, in the event of war, the character is directly commissioned as a first lieutenant in the engineers. So that's also another one. Commercial pilot, a person qualified to operate a commercial aircraft. Entry, technical school, pilot 3+. Special, in the event of war, the character is directly commissioned as a second lieutenant in the aviation arm of the Army. So it's not just the medical school that gives you automatic Army commission. Computer programmer, an individual that writes programs for execution by computer. Entry, technical school or undergraduate degree, computer 2+. Let's see. And here you can see it's actually truncated to be just programmer. So you got construction worker, an individual that builds structures such as homes, office buildings, and stores. Entry, strength 4+. Criminal, a person that commits crime for a living. Entry, agility 5+. Entertainer, an individual that diverts attention by singing, acting, or some other form of distraction. Entry, charisma 8+. Wow, I didn't know it was that high. Factory worker, a person that works in a factory. A person that works in a facility that manufactures goods on a large scale. Entry, no prerequisites. Farmer, an individual that owns a piece of land and either grows crops or raises livestock. Entry, no prerequisites. Okay, federal law enforcement, an individual that makes sure the federal laws are adhered to. Entry, law school, no prison record. Government agent, a person authorized to act under governmental orders. Entry, undergraduate degree, intelligence 6+. So we don't have. Oh, that's right. We didn't go to grad school. All right, undergrad school. Sorry. Here's an interesting thing. In the event of war, the character is not drafted, but continues to serve as an intelligence agent. That's actually kind of interesting. Idle rich, an individual that possesses an abundance of money. Entry, charisma 8+. Journalist, an individual that gathers, writes, and edits news for newspapers or magazines. Entry, undergrad degree or charisma 7+. Manager, a person who is charged with the control of a business and its personnel. Undergraduate degree for entry. Mechanic, an individual who repairs and maintains machines. Entry, no prerequisites. Medical doctor, a person licensed to practice medicine. Entry, medical school. Special, in the event of war, the character receives a direct commission as a captain in the Army Medical Corps. Paramedic, an individual related to the medical profession in supplementary capacity. Entry, technical school, medical 2+. Politician, a person who is active or skilled in politics. Entry, charisma A+. Special, in the event of war, this person. Okay, in the event of war, the character cannot be drafted while currently in this occupation. Oh, talk about true to real life, huh? Prison. If captured as a criminal, the character is sent to prison. Entry. Captured while a criminal. Special. Released from prison after one term. Private investigator. A person employed by an individual to solve or prevent a crime. Entry. Intelligence 5+. Charisma 5+. Professor. A college or university teacher of the highest rank. Entry. PhD. State local law enforcement. An individual entrusted by the city or state government to maintain order, prevent and detect crime, and enforce the laws. Entry, no prison record. Truck driver. An individual who transports objects by truck. Entry, agility 4+. So then we have the military occupations. Let's see if I can pull them up. Okay. So first we have the Army. Army, the military forces of a nation that are trained to fight on land. Entry, no prerequisites. Special, characters with intelligence and an education score of 7+ may enter OCS, Officer Candidate School. So that's what I was talking about. And I think, if you qualify for the military academy, you can qualify for, OCS. And I don't think it is possible to be inside the National Military Academy and not qualify for OCS. I think if we go into Army, we should be able to pull it up. We should be able to see it. So each of the Army branches, each of the military branches inside a service actually have different requisites. So armor arm, we'll make this an Army character. All right, so here we go. Army's armor arm. Armor arm. The armor division includes both tank units and cavalry units used for recon. Listed entry, no prereqs. Officer entry, OCS, military academy, or commission. See, that's what I was saying. You have to. Military academy will bypass OCS. Okay, artillery arm. The artillery division provides indirect howitzer and rocket fire in support of the ground forces and mans air defense and long-range missile units. Enlisted entry, strength 5+. Officer entry, intelligence 5+. And OCS, or military, yeah. So I'm just gonna. I want you to assume from now on, I will just be saying the stat requirements, and then you assume that OCS, military academy, or commission come after that, because it's pretty much the recurring thing here. It's officer plus certain requirements for that branch. It'd be a lot easier to just assume that OCS, military, or commission are all required on top of the officer stat entry. All right, so aviation arm. The aviation division is responsible for flying and maintaining aircraft. Enlisted entry, no prereqs. Officer entry, agility 6+. Engineer arm. The engineer division is responsible for a variety of construction tasks in support of combat units. Entry for enlisted, none. Officer entry, civil 2+. Infantry arm. Oh, there's a lot here. The infantry division is the largest of the combat arms. These are the troops that do the actual ground fighting. These forces consist of airborne, ranger, and mounted infantry troops. And honestly, the infantry arm has a lot of requirements here. So you have to think ahead for that one. You just can't get lucky in stats. So enlisted airborne, constitution, strength, and agility 15+. Officer 14+. Enlisted infantry, no prereqs. Officer entry is OCS academy or commission. Let's see. Enlisted mountain infantry, strength and agility 10+. Officer, just OCS academy or commission. Enlisted ranger, strength, constitution, and agility 17+. Officer 16+. Medical corps. The medical division is responsible for the maintenance of troop health at all times. Enlisted entry, education 6+. Officer nurse, undergrad degree, medical, and medical 3+. It doesn't list the doctor requirement, but it's probably like a 4 or 5. Honestly, I think if you get if you graduate undergrad and get medical school, you automatically qualify for a medical doctor on top of nurse. So I think it's probably meant to be the same. I don't know. It's just, unfortunately, it's not listed here. There's actually a lot of problems with the manual that got fixed with errata. All right, so artillery arm. The artillery division provides indirect howitzer and rocket. Wait, didn't I just see that? Oh, I think this is unusual. Oh, it's a reprint. Oh, okay, I see now. The manual's kind of got errors in it, but here is the officer doctor entry, so it actually is here. Okay. That's how long it's been since I read this. I didn't realize there was actually duplicate pages. Okay, so officer doctor entries, medical school. Ah, okay. I mean, if you're going for medical doctor in your career, you're going to be going from in the army anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's honestly just formality at that point, because your medic will always have med school and all that. Okay, so let's take a look. Military intelligence. The intelligence division is responsible for the interrogating prisoners and analyzing intelligence reports. Oh, it doesn't list the does not list enlisted, oddly. It does. It says officers 7+, so I imagine enlisted is 8+. Yeah. Special Forces Arm. The Special Forces Division is best known for their distinctive green berets and are trained to operate deep within enemy territory in support of the infantry. Enlisted. Strength, Constitution, agility 18+, language 2+. Officers same as enlisted plus. Okay. So Special Forces, you have to have at least 2 languages as well as the 18 score in OCS military or commissions for officer version. Support arm. The support division is a combination of non-combat arms. I think that's just the repairs going by the icon. Enlisted entry, no prereqs. Officer, OCS Academy or Commission. So we're just gonna we're gonna let's see, let's make this another intelligence. Now I was sure that going by I see the stats here, we should get access to OCS. Okay, I guess we don't. I do want to show how that works, though. And also, it doesn't matter what skills you pick up. A lot of these are only for the pen and paper, as I said at the start. Let's see. I don't think we have a Slovak speaker. Getting kind of lucky here, huh? Aren't we? Not got a war broken out yet. Oh, we don't have a Lithuanian speaker. Oh, I thought that's secondary. There we go. War breaks out. Now, something to know about your first term is, or rather, if you change up branches, you do not get to pick your first term in that branch, in the sense where you don't get to pick your skills in that branch. Any repeat ones in that branch will allow you to pick skills, but you always get forced to pick one, right? You get forced a starter set, so to speak. Pretty decent. Go ahead, spin this on more heavy. Actually, we should spin this on the grenade launchers. These things have a very high ammo amount. They, by the time you get to the end of the game, you can burn through a lot of them. Oh, I didn't even check his initiative. Yeah, see, he's kind of crappy initiative. He's he's a fodder, so you don't need him. So let's just pick whatever. Let's see. Let's make it Hungarian. Now I've seen people getting around 51, but it's kind of rare. I think the most you should expect is around the 40 or the 41. So this looks good enough to get. Well, let's talk about OCS. Let's see. Okay, now we can look at the Marines. All right, so pull up the Marines. Oh, this is where you get your OCS prompt. Okay, so Marines, the military forces of a nation that are trained to perform amphibious missions or to carry out conventional combat missions. Entry, strength, agility, and constitution 15 plus and no prison record. Yeah. Oh, have they seen the modern military these days? I'm pretty sure that's not a disqualifier anymore. That's not a deal breaker. Special, characters with intelligence and education score 7 plus may enter OCS. Note, the occupations in the Marines are the same as the Army Infantry, but the following occupations are added. Force Recon. The Force Recon Division is responsible for scouting reports and information from the front lines. Listed entry. Strength, agility, constitution 17 plus. Officers, same as it listed, but with the OCS military or commission. Sniper. The Sniper Division is responsible for shooting targeted individuals. Listed entry, strength, agility, constitution 19 plus. And I assume I don't think there's actually an officer option for that. Yeah, there is none. See, it tells you which ones there are. Interesting. So I'll go ahead and pick Force Recon. Wow. Getting some bad luck here, aren't we? Don't think we have Kazakh. I am sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Okay, so going to spend this on more Mark 19s. So what we're going to do here is you want to kind of keep an eye on your squad's armory. By this, you want to do this. You want to go into the game, check the storeroom, and look at your ammo. Right now, we have around 29 rounds. That's not going to be anywhere near enough. 50 BMG is exclusively for the heavy barrel. It's 50 caliber heavy machine gun. 40 millimeter heat grenades are for high explosive grenades are for your Mark 19s. Now, I don't actually know the formula for what they choose for how many rounds you get per weapon. I think it's 1 plus 4 or 5 reloads. I would have to check it sometime to be able to give you an accurate answer. Actually, hold on. We can look at our weapons, then divide. So we have 4 tows, and we have 29 rounds in there. Now, each tow can carry 1 missile inside the tube and 2 extra for reloads. So that's about 7 1/4 reloads. Interesting. So I'm not actually sure what the count is. It's definitely worth experimenting, though. And unfortunately, you cannot go back into the character creation screen from here. You have to exit the game and then go back out. So we're going to do just that. So that's how you can check your current amount. You want to save your squad and then do that. Because you do want to have an incredibly high amount of... Because late game, you're going to have much more use of the heat grenades for the Mark 19s as well as the missile launchers. So you want to stack up on those a lot. Now, what was the last one you made? It was, okay, it's a female. All right. So another generic weapons guy. It seems weird not having everybody able to speak English. Okay, so kind of want to make this guy a pilot because I don't think we actually have any pilots. Now, piloting F-wing and R-wing is irrelevant in this game, really. It's one of the skills that are not used, just there for creation to translate to a tabletop. Interesting that doesn't give you. I think you need to have both R-wing as well as F-wing, because we had two in F-wing and didn't give it to us. So let's just pick whatever. I probably should have picked Air Force. Oh, now okay. I think you need to have both F-wing and R-wing, fixed wing and rotary wing in order to get in here. Active reserves, cool. We keep getting screwed on promotions. It sucks. Again, just doesn't matter what you pick, because this is not your core party's characters, so you do not have to worry much about what they have. Damn, complete screwing on promotions. So I think, oh wow, 40K to work with. Spend it all on missile launchers. Seared squad. So let's take a look now at our, our missile stock. This is something you want to keep doing until you got. I think. Let me see how many we have first. So now we have 60. Okay. We have how many toes? 8 missiles. All right, 8th missile launcher. Let me see here. Calculate it up. So we have 60 missiles, and each one carries 2 extra reloads on top of the. So let's divide that by 3. 20 reloads. Okay. So you want to have at least. Let me look at that again. You want to have a lot more than this. I think you want to have at least 200 missiles, because while the tow missiles insta-kill tanks, in the later stages of the game, you're going to end up doing 2 or 3 at a time. You can fight them inside a tank yourself, but it's usually much easier to get inside to exit the tank and then fire at them with missile launchers. It's a lot less of a pain. Trust me. With the 50 caliber, you want way more than this. You want at least 2 to 3 times this amount, because each M2 heavy barrel fully loaded takes 300 bullets. They have 100 in the in the chamber, and then you have 2 reloads of that. So you can go through this very quickly if you're a bad shot. So you do, this is why you want to keep peeking at your armory every now and then while you're creating these, so you get an idea what you need to focus on. I think we actually have every single language covered now. Oh, and I totally forgot about the other services. I'm so sorry. I got focused in this. We're going to look at the Navy now. Oh, okay. So here's the interesting bit. The Navy gives you the option of being either Marines or Navy or ROTC. This is because of the real life practice of where the Marines work in tandem with the Navy. So, looking at the Navy, the military forces of a nation that man both combat and seagoing support vessels as well as a substantial air arm. Entry, no prereqs. Special, special is the same as, for OCS as in the other services. Seaman, enlisted entry, no prereqs. Naval officer entry, OCS. Naval officer aviator, agility A+, and then OCS. SEAL, the SEAL Division's responsibilities are much like those of the Army Special Forces Arm. Enlisted entry, strength, agility, constitution, 15 plus. Officer, strength, officer, same as enlisted, but also OCS. Then you have the Air Force, the military forces of a nation that fly and maintain the service's largest portion of aircraft. Entry, no prereqs. And special, same as OCS requirements. Okay. Airman, the airman's responsibilities to repair and maintain the aircraft. Enlisted, no prereqs. Pilot, the pilot's responsibilities include flying of aircraft and the fighting that occurs in the air. Officer entry, agility 6 plus. So Air Force and Navy kind of have the lowest recs for a character, whereas Marines have the highest by far, and then you have the armies. So we make this a naval one. And we could actually be a SEAL officer. Cool. And as you'll notice, the ranks are actually accurate to the military service they're part of. So I think starting money is actually kind of random, but you get higher amounts depending on what service and rank you in the creation at. So this is one we're picking up miscellaneous stuff on. I think we have tools at the armory. I'll have to take a look at it. You do want to have IR goggles. If you intend to engage in night missions, you need to have all 4 of them equipped with IR goggles. Get more medical kits. Have at least 4 of these. Let's look at some more of these. Now, I'm curious about his initiative. What? Okay, so he's got 6 initiative. Man, that's some good RNG, really. Hmm. Wait. Oh my god, I think I screwed up, didn't I? Ah, damn, I did screw up. I forgot to add them to the actual platoon. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, I didn't even notice. That's actually really funny. I did not notice that he was not in the right division. But that was actually a really good initiative, and I really wish we got that on the our main ones. Hmm. Anyway, what I'm gonna do now is actually this is probably gonna be a multi-part playthrough because character creation and such takes a long time, even if you know what you're doing, what you're looking for, because you do have some RNG aspects of it. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna do off screen. I'm gonna fill out the platoon with a lot of a lot of other stuff, and as well as make sure we have a lot of reloads and such in our armory. So next time we will be doing the game proper after I get everything done here off screen. Thank you for watching. See you next time.